a Super Bowl MVP so hated by his own owner that he signed with the rival just to stick the knife. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Oakland Raiders. 65 years, same division, same air, same blood. The American Football League was born out of rejection. The NFL told these owners they weren't good enough, that professional football already had all the teams it needed. So Lamar Hunt, quiet, patient, methodical, created the AFL in 1960. Hunt had a vision. We are here to prove that football is big enough for all of us. The Kansas City Chiefs and Oakland Raiders were charter members. Same league, same mission, same enemy. But the man who would come to define the Raiders wasn't there at the beginning. Al Davis arrived in Oakland in 1963 as the team's head coach. He had spent the previous 3 years as an assistant with the San Diego Chargers, studying the AFL from the inside. Within 3 years, he would take over the Raiders entirely. Within 5, he would try to burn the whole league structure down to get what he wanted. Hunt and Davis were fundamentally different men. Hunt wanted to prove the AFL belonged alongside the NFL. Davis wanted to beat the NFL into submission. The contrast was not subtle. It was philosophical, it was personal, and it would define 65 years of hatred. When Davis became AFL commissioner in 1966, he didn't negotiate a merger. He declared war, poaching NFL quarterbacks and forcing the old league to the table. I want their fear. Hunt had spent years building bridges. Davis tried to burn them down, but the merger happened anyway, and both men ended up in the same division. Partners turned rivals. The blood feud was official. But how fast would it escalate? The Chiefs had lost the 1968 AFL Western Division playoff to Oakland. Not just lost, got destroyed. Oakland 41, Kansas City 6. A humiliation so thorough, it felt personal. The Raiders were the AFL's alpha. Davis had built them that way. Kansas City went into 1969 as the team that couldn't beat Oakland when it mattered. But then everything changed. And what changed it was one season that carried the weight of an entire decade. The 1969 season carried weight that no regular season before or since has matched. This was the final year of the American Football League. After a decade of fighting for legitimacy, the AFL would merge with the NFL and cease to exist. Every game mattered. Every rivalry game mattered more. And no rivalry mattered more than Kansas City versus Oakland. Hank Stram had built something special in Kansas City. The man treated football like jazz, moving pockets, triple stack formations, calling plays with the glee of a kid drawing them up in the dirt. The moment it stops being fun, the players stop believing. His players believed. His quarterback was Dawson, a player cast off by 2 NFL teams as a failure. Pittsburgh didn't want him. Cleveland didn't want him. But Stram saw something nobody else could see. Dawson would throw for 28,711 career passing yards with 239 touchdowns and an 82.6 passer rating. Canton called in 1987. The man the NFL rejected became one of the AFL's greatest quarterbacks. But the Raiders had their own weapons. Oakland's defense was built to intimidate. Their offense was built to attack. Davis had instilled a philosophy that would define the franchise for decades. Just win, baby. It didn't matter how. It didn't matter what anyone thought. Results were the only currency that mattered in Oakland. The Chiefs needed to prove they could beat this team, but the 1969 regular season offered no comfort. Oakland swept both meetings. Kansas City couldn't solve the Raiders when the games counted. The frustration was mounting. If they couldn't beat Oakland in a regular season game, how could they beat them when everything was on the line? But the regular season losses meant nothing if they got one more chance when it truly counted. January 4th, 1970, the AFL Championship game, the final AFL Championship game ever played. Winner goes to Super Bowl IV, the culmination of the entire league's existence. Kansas City versus Oakland, one more time. Oakland came out aggressive, scoring a first-quarter touchdown to take an early lead. It was the only score of the opening quarter. Kansas City answered in the second quarter. Wendell Hayes punched it in from 1 yard out, and the Chiefs took a lead they would never give back. But the Raiders refused to fold. 5 Kansas City fumbles kept Oakland in the game, and for stretches, the momentum swung. The crowd could feel it slipping. Stram called timeout. Whatever he said in that huddle, the Chiefs came back transformed. They drove the field and scored the dagger. The Chiefs won 17-7, but the victory came with a shadow. Days before the biggest game of his life, Len Dawson's name appeared in a federal gambling investigation. The country wondered if their quarterback was a criminal. The pressure would have broken most men. I'm going to play football. He walked onto the field anyway. Super Bowl IV became the AFL's final statement. Kansas City 23, Minnesota 7. Stram's innovative offense dismantled the Vikings in a performance so dominant the NFL had never seen anything like it. The 65-toss power trap became the most famous play call in Super Bowl history. Stram's voice captured on the NFL Films microphone, giddy as a child on Christmas morning.
Blaster, tell him 65-toss power trap. Get in there for 65-toss power trap. 65-toss power trap.
He shouted from the sideline, barely able to contain himself. Dawson won Super Bowl MVP, vindication and defiance in the same breath. The AFL died that day, but it died a champion, and the Chiefs had delivered its eulogy. If you're feeling this rivalry in your gut right now, hit subscribe. We go deep on the feuds, the failures, and the stories the NFL doesn't tell anymore. But mountaintops are temporary. The Chiefs had nowhere to go but down. And in Oakland, Al Davis was just getting started. Hungry men build dangerous things. The 1970s belonged to Oakland, completely, ruthlessly. The Chiefs collapsed into irrelevance after their Super Bowl win, while the Raiders reached the AFC Championship game or beyond 6 times. The balance of power had shifted so dramatically that Kansas City fans could only watch in horror. Davis hired a 32-year-old nobody named John Madden. The man was so terrified of flying that the most famous coach in football traveled by bus and train, but that fear never touched his coaching. I care what we do when we get there. Madden turned the Raiders into the most feared team of the 1970s. The toughest team in the league was led by a man fighting a phobia every week. Ken Stabler became the heartbeat of that era. The Snake, they called him. A left-handed gunslinger from Alabama who threw 27,938 career passing yards and 194 touchdowns. He completed 2,270 passes on 3,793 attempts. A 4-time Pro Bowler and 1-time first-team All-Pro. Canton finally called in 2016, 1 year after his death. The Snake lived fast, played faster, and left a mark that still defines Raiders football. But Stabler didn't win alone. Fred Biletnikoff was his favorite target. The wide receiver from Florida State caught 393 passes for 8,974 yards and 76 touchdowns across his career. A 6-time Pro Bowler and 2-time first-team All-Pro. His hands were covered in stickum. His routes were covered in precision. Canton called in 1988. The connection between Stabler and Biletnikoff terrorized defenses throughout the decade. When the Snake needed a clutch catch, Biletnikoff was there. When the game was on the line, number 25 found a way to get open. But the true test of this Raiders team came on the biggest stage, Super Bowl XI. January 9th, 1977, the Raiders against the Minnesota Vikings at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. Oakland's defense set the tone from the opening whistle. The front seven harassed Fran Tarkenton relentlessly, collapsing the pocket on nearly every dropback. Tarkenton, one of the great scramblers in NFL history, had nowhere to run. The Vikings' offense, which had averaged over 20 points per game that season, looked paralyzed. Stabler picked apart Minnesota's secondary with surgical precision. Biletnikoff finished with 4 receptions for 79 yards and a touchdown, earning Super Bowl MVP honors. Every catch moved the chains, but it was the running game that delivered the knockout blow. Clarence Davis, Mark Van Egan, and Pete Banaszak combined for over 210 rushing yards. Banaszak scored twice on the ground, grinding Minnesota's defense into dust. Oakland 32, Minnesota 14. Madden had his ring. Davis had his validation. The Raiders were champions. But Madden walked away. The fear of flying had worn him down. The grind had taken its toll. He retired in 1979 with a record that would eventually land him in Canton in 2006. But his departure didn't slow the Raiders. It accelerated them. Oakland won Super Bowl XV in January 1981 under Tom Flores, capping the 1980 season. The franchise was rolling, but the Chiefs were stirring. A new generation was coming. Kansas City wouldn't stay down forever. The question was how long it would take and how much damage Oakland would inflict in the meantime. The 1980s brought the rivalry's most personal chapter. Marcus Allen arrived as the 10th pick in the 1982 draft. He was supposed to be the future. He became the present immediately. Allen rushed for 12,243 career yards. He caught 587 passes for 5,411 receiving yards. He scored 123 rushing touchdowns and 21 receiving touchdowns. A 6-time Pro Bowler and 2-time first-team All-Pro. Canton called in 2003. Super Bowl 18 should have cemented the relationship forever. Allen's performance against Washington was transcendent. A 74-yard touchdown run that remains one of the most iconic plays in Super Bowl history. He reversed field, found the corner, and outran the entire Washington defense. The Raiders won 38-9, but something went wrong. Davis and Allen's relationship deteriorated into open warfare. The relationship soured. Davis didn't bench Allen outright. He still played 16 games the next 2 seasons, 13 the year after that. He even led the league in rushing. But Davis reduced his carries, buried him in the game plan, and made it clear the Super Bowl MVP was no longer the franchise centerpiece. It was a slow suffocation, not a sudden death. And everyone in Oakland knew it, but Allen refused to break. He can't erase what I did, and he was right. Davis could control the carries. He couldn't control the record book. And then Kansas City came calling. Allen signed with the Chiefs in 1993. The man Al Davis tried to bury was wearing red. Every time Allen touched the ball against Oakland, he was proving Davis wrong. Every touchdown was a dagger. It's personal. Everyone knows why. The man who should have been a Raiders legend became a Chiefs weapon. But Allen wasn't the only Raiders star to suffer under Davis's ego. Bo Jackson arrived in Oakland as a part-time player who also played professional baseball. He rushed for 2,782 yards on just 515 attempts. That's 5.4 yards per carry across his career. He scored 16 rushing touchdowns and added 352 receiving yards with 2 receiving touchdowns. A one-time Pro Bowler who made the impossible look routine. But his 1991 hip injury ended the dream before it fully materialized. What might have been haunts Raiders fans to this day. Howie Long anchored the defense through this chaos. The second-round pick from Villanova recorded 91.5 career sacks, an 8-time Pro Bowler and 2-time first-team All-Pro. Canton called in 2000. Long embodied everything the Raiders wanted to be: physical, relentless, intimidating. But Kansas City was building its own identity. Derek Thomas arrived in 1989 and immediately changed everything. The linebacker from Alabama recorded 126.5 career sacks and made 9 Pro Bowls with 2 first-team All-Pro selections. His 641 career tackles proved he could do more than rush the passer. Canton called in 2009. Thomas gave Chiefs fans a reason to believe again. Every snap, he was hunting quarterbacks. Every game against Oakland, he was hunting Raiders. But Thomas's career ended in tragedy. A car accident on January 23, 2000 left him paralyzed. He died 16 days later on February 8th. He was 33 years old. The franchise mourned. The rivalry paused, but it never stopped. The late 1990s brought another power shift. Oakland found Rich Gannon. Kansas City found Tony Gonzalez, but the rivalry still had unfinished postseason business. In the 1991 AFC wildcard, Kansas City beat the Los Angeles Raiders 10-6. It was the first time the two franchises had met in the playoffs since the AFL days, and it was Kansas City's first ever home playoff game at Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs' defense smothered the Raiders, and for Kansas City fans, it was a moment 2 decades in the making. Gonzalez redefined the tight end position. Drafted in the first round in 1997 out of California, he caught 1,325 passes for 15,127 yards and 111 touchdowns across his career. A 14-time Pro Bowler, a 6-time first-team All-Pro. Canton called in 2019. No tight end had ever produced like this. Gonzalez spent 12 seasons in Kansas City, torturing Raiders defenses twice a year. He was too big for cornerbacks, too fast for linebackers, too smart for everyone. But the Raiders had their own weapons. Tim Brown was the heart of Oakland's offense. The 1988 first-round pick caught 1,094 passes for 14,934 yards and 100 touchdowns. A 9-time Pro Bowler who spent 16 seasons in silver and black. Canton called in 2015. Brown gave the Raiders consistency during chaotic years. He gave them hope during hopeless seasons. But Charles Woodson added another dimension entirely. The 1998 first-round draft pick recorded 65 career interceptions and 20 sacks. He made 1,220 tackles across his career, a 9-time Pro Bowler and 3-time first-team All-Pro. Canton called in 2021. Woodson won a Super Bowl ring with Green Bay in 2010, but his Raiders years established his reputation. But the Chiefs countered with Priest Holmes. The undrafted running back from Texas rushed for 8,172 yards and 86 touchdowns. He caught 339 passes for 2,962 receiving yards and 8 receiving touchdowns. A 3-time Pro Bowler and 3-time first-team All-Pro. Holmes had already won a Super Bowl ring with Baltimore in 2000. He came to Kansas City and became one of the most productive backs in franchise history. But neither team could break through to a championship. The Chiefs and Raiders kept beating each other. They kept hurting each other. They kept denying each other. The rivalry was healthy. The franchises were not. Al Davis died on October 8, 2011. The man who had defined the Raiders for nearly 50 years was gone. He had been inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1992 as an owner and a coach. His feuds died with him, but his grudges did not. Andy Reid arrived in Kansas City in 2013. The former Eagles coach had reached Super Bowl 39 with Philadelphia, but couldn't finish. He came to Kansas City with something to prove, but proving it would take a quarterback. Patrick Mahomes changed everything. The 10th pick in 2017 has thrown for 35,939 career passing yards and 267 touchdowns. He has completed 3,093 passes on 4,673 attempts. His 100.8 career passer rating shows his efficiency. He has added 2,665 rushing yards and 19 rushing touchdowns. A 6-time Pro Bowler and 2-time first-team All-Pro at just 30 years old. 3 Super Bowl rings, 5 Super Bowl starts. The Chiefs had become a dynasty, but the cost of that dynasty was felt most in Oakland and then in Las Vegas. Travis Kelce became Mahomes' favorite target. The 3rd-round pick in 2013 has caught 1,080 passes for 13,002 yards and 82 touchdowns. An 11-time Pro Bowler and 4-time first-team All-Pro. Kelce has 3 Super Bowl rings of his own. Tony Gonzalez set the standard. Kelce is chasing it. But the Raiders have watched all of this from the outside. The franchise moved to Las Vegas in 2020. New city, new stadium, same struggles. Kansas City has won championship after championship while the Raiders search for stability. The balance of power has never been more lopsided. But rivalries don't die because one team is winning. They burn hotter. Every Raiders victory over Kansas City feels like a championship. Every Chiefs victory feels like confirmation of the new order. If you made it this far, you're one of us. Drop a comment, Chiefs or Raiders? Who won this rivalry? And if this is your first time here, hit subscribe. We do this every week. Lamar Hunt died in 2006. Al Davis died in 2011. The founders are gone, but what they built remains. Hunt's patience built a franchise that became a dynasty. Davis's aggression built a franchise that became a symbol. And twice a year, they still try to destroy each other. 65 years, 3 cities, 4 stadiums, countless Hall of Famers, 2 dead founders, and a hatred that will outlive us all.